am I not? It's my pleasure to get to introduce Daniel Irwin. And it is a privilege to get our speakers. And Daniel was so enthusiastic from the very first phone conversation. He's just really in love with his job. So here's a little bit more information about Daniel. He's from Memphis. He graduated from Central High School and from Lambuth University in Jackson, Tennessee. He's worked for several social agencies and at Shelby County Juvenile Court before coming to the Better Business Bureau as an investigations and research specialist. And in this capacity, he also served as the administrator of their scam tracking service. He is currently the Director of Relations and Outreach. He lives in Germantown with his wife, daughter, and 2 dogs. Let's give a big, warm Talk Shop welcome to Daniel Irwin.
Hello, thank you guys. I appreciate the invite. Thanks a lot for having me. Hello. So again, my name is Daniel Irwin. I am the Director of Public Relations for the Better Business Bureau of the MidSouth. Just briefly, all what I'm going to talk about today are scams that affect the MidSouth.
And
Obviously,
your audience, your Zoom audience is there.
Sorry. So obviously, there are many scams that are going on. I'm going to kind of target it towards the ones that we see the most in the Mid-South. Unfortunately, these are ones that when people fall for, they lose a lot of money to. So all the numbers and things I'll be talking about are all local. The Better Business Bureau of the Mid-South services the Memphis and West Tennessee area. So we go all the way to Jackson. We also service the North Mississippi area, and we service Creighton County, Arkansas. So we have a wide range of areas to cover.
Tim online is doing your flicker.
Okay, first slide, if you don't mind. All right, so a little bit about the Better Business Bureau, who we are. For over 100 years, we've helped people find businesses, brands, and charities that they can trust. We steer customers towards the good businesses and away from the bad ones. We help consumers resolve disputes with businesses. That's probably what we're known for the most. We do, like I said, a lot of things, but one of the main things that we do on top of dispute resolution is we educate consumers and business owners about how to avoid becoming the victim of a scam or investment fraud. We have no enforcement powers, unfortunately. We're just a nonprofit, but we oftentimes hear of a scam before the authorities do, and we work with local media and law enforcement to expose and prosecute scammers. Now, most of the scammers that about the scams that we're going to talk about are actually located overseas. All those calls that you get harassed 100 times a week from all these different calls. Those are all originating, most of them from India, in call centers. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is a lot of the people calling you and telling you that they're with the Social Security Administration or they're with the IRS or they want you to buy the extended car warranty, they're actually located in India. They go to work. Their job is to scam Americans. It is a full-time job. The government raids these call centers every so often, but literally there are people in India that go to work, they clock in, they get bonuses, they get all sorts of perks, and they clock out at the end of the day. So they actually run call centers, and all they do all day is call and scam Americans. So next slide. All right, so what is Scam Tracker? You're going to hear me refer to Scam Tracker. And what Scam Tracker is it's an interactive heat map that in real time lets you see what scams are going on in your neck of the woods. You can search by zip code. If you want to go to the next slide real quick. One more for me.
Tim is his name.
Yeah, okay, Tim. All right, so this is what Scam Tracker looks like when you pull it up. If you go to our website, bbb.org/scam tracker, you can search and see what scams are going on in your zip code. You can search by keyword. If you got a strange phone call and you want to see if other people have reported it, you can search that way. You can also report scams. What's great about Scam Tracker is that you can read in the victim's own words what happened to them. And again, you can see in real time what's going on. This is an invaluable tool that we use to get the word out about scams. So again, you can report scams on Scam Tracker, but you can also check something out. So if you are, for instance, a little hesitant about buying something on a website you never bought anything from, and you just, something doesn't feel right, you can go on Scam Tracker and you can type in the website, and it'll tell you real quickly whether anyone else in the country has reported that website as being a scam. So that's why it's a really valuable tool. And it's the main tool that we use to get the word out about scams. Education is how we prevent these. If you want to go to the next slide. All right, and so one of the reasons why Scam Tracker is so popular is it kind of, it piggybacks on people's desire to help the public. Most of the time when people report scams to us, they realize that the likelihood of getting their money back is very, very slim, but they want to let others know what happened so they don't fall victim. So that is the number one reason why people report scams to us. Next slide. So each year, it's estimated that more than 36 billion is lost to fraud and scams. One of the things we do at the Better Business Bureau is we try to provide information and resources to prevent scammers from taking not only your money, but your peace of mind. Oftentimes, the stress of dealing with the relentless phone calls, often impersonating government agencies, can be almost as devastating as a financial loss. One of the things to keep in mind when we talk about scams is, even though you haven't lost money to something, that doesn't mean that it doesn't bug you. We get phone calls all the time from senior citizens in particular that just want the phone calls to stop. They get hundreds of calls a week from people claiming to be the IRS and constantly telling them that they're going to go to prison if they don't pay these fines. And even though they know in the back of their mind that it's a scam, they can't not answer the phone. And so every time it's a double-edged sword. Every time they answer the phone, the caller on the other end knows it's a live number. So they're going to turn around and sell that number to another scammer who's going to call, and they're going to answer. And so it's just a never-ending process. But we get so many calls from seniors who are just exhausted. They can't sleep. The anxiety that the constant phone calls gives them, again, is almost worse than the financial loss, because it takes their peace of mind. So that's one thing to think about. Just because you haven't fallen for a scam, right, it's still affecting you or a loved one, because again, the anxiety of just the constant harassment can really build up. Next slide. All right, so I'm not going to read this slide in particular, but these are the top scams that we see here in the Mid-South. I'm going to go over each one quickly, and these are the ones that people fall for the most in terms of financial loss. If you'll go to the next slide real quick. So if you haven't received one of these phone calls, you will. I'm sure most of you will recognize these as I talk about them. But again, these are what are happening in the Mid-South the most that people are falling for. So have you received a phone call asking for your personal information, your bank account or credit card number, or Medicare ID number? We refer to this as the Medicare scam. You get a mysterious phone call from someone that claims to be Medicare or a third-party insurance provider, and they want you, off the top, they want your Medicare number, they want your social security number. They're going to take this and they're going to steal your identity. You know, these thieves, they pose as representatives, and this is one that kind of targets seniors. So most of the time, everybody gets these calls, but seniors tend to be who fall for this the most, and so it's kind of targeted towards them. But obviously, Medicare is never going to call you. Neither is someone like the Social Security Administration. But obviously, if you get a call like this, hang up. It's not Medicare. One of the things that makes this so hard, and one of the reasons why people fall for it, and we'll talk about this more in a moment, is that you can't trust caller ID. One of the reasons why so many seniors fall for this scam in particular is that they get a phone call, and on the other end is someone that says they're Medicare. But when they check their caller ID, it'll show up as Medicare. One of the things that people might do is they may answer the phone, and the person on the other end will say they're from Medicare, say there's some kind of problem that showed up on their caller ID as Medicare. And then they get a number to call back. Well, you need to talk to a supervisor, and they'll give them a number. So then that person will call that number, and guess what? The person on the other end will answer the phone and say, Medicare. Well, they've been called. They said they were Medicare. It showed up on my caller ID as Medicare. And when I called the number back, they said they were Medicare. They must be Medicare. That's just not the case. That's what makes this scam so hard to fall for. We call this an imposter scam. If you don't mind, the next slide. All right. So have you ever received a call from someone claiming to be with the government agency such as the Social Security Administration or the IRS? Same thing. The Social Security Administration is never going to call you, and neither is the IRS or one of many government agencies. Imposter scams are the costliest and most prevalent type of scam. They involve a scammer pretending to be someone you trust to trick you into handing over money or personal information like a password, bank account, or your social security number. Scammers oftentimes target the elderly by impersonating officials. Lately, not only have we seen the IRS and the Social Security Administration being one of the impersonated agencies, but FEMA and the Border Patrol have popped up. And one of the reasons for that is, again, scammers are very, very smart. They watch the news. They're very topical. So things that are in the news, such as all the COVID stuff, and well, that's where we get the FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Agency, especially during the first couple of months of COVID. And when the vaccines rolled out, we got that's when the FEMA really became a big issue. Scammers saying they're FEMA. And recently it's been the Border Patrol. With all the news about what's happening on the border, believe it or not, and especially in the MidSouth when people aren't very familiar with the Border Patrol, right? We don't deal with the Border Patrol a whole lot. They call and the pitch goes something like, we're the United States Border Patrol. We're investigating you because your social security number was tied up in fraud and drug trafficking in Texas. And so there's always a reason, there's always something you have to do. It usually involves you going and buying a prepaid gift card to pay some kind of fine. So this is another one that people fall for a lot, and when they do, they lose a lot of money. Just in the first, so far year to date, we've had about 60 instances where mid-Southerners have not only lost money, but lost thousands of dollars. That's more than 60 people that have lost more than $1,000 to this scam alone. So obviously, if you receive a call from someone claiming to be with a government agency, it's a scam and you should hang up right away. Again, it's kind of twofold. When you answer that phone that you don't recognize and you keep talking or you engage with the scammer, they're going to know it's a live number, so you're going to get more calls. We understand, especially in the business community, that you just can't ignore every call you get, especially if you don't recognize the number. But as soon as you know it's a scammer, you should hang up. If you don't mind the next slide. All right. Another very popular scam that unfortunately seems to target seniors, but also targets everybody is a government grant scam. I'm sure that y'all probably have gotten this. It usually comes from a friend on Facebook. Unbeknownst to them, they've been hacked. And usually the pitch starts with, hey, I saw your name on a list for a government grant. You don't have to pay for it. And they usually get you, put you in contact with some kind of scammer who is going to try to get you to go get gift cards to pay for a government grant. Usually they'll tell you that it's for fees or taxes. And the cherry on top is that you'll get that money back once they come to you with a check. Obviously, y'all are all business professionals. You know that the government is not in the habit of just giving money away freely. If they did, there would be a long process in which you would have to apply for that, and they certainly wouldn't contact you on social media and have you pay for it with gift cards. But again, unfortunately, in the last 9 months, we have had so many people fall for this that I think the last time I checked, we were up to $100,000. Those are mid-Southerners that have lost this money. Yeah. And again, they'll keep going to the well until it runs dry. A lot of times they'll start out asking you for $850 or, a certain amount of money. You'll go and you'll get that gift card and you'll give them the numbers on the back of the card, and then you'll await your check, and they'll call and they'll be like, oh, well, the taxes are going to be a little more. We just need one more gift card. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm about to get $80,000. What's another 250? And they'll just keep going and keep going. And you'd be surprised the number of people that don't just fall once, they fall multiple times. So that's what's so horrible about the scam. And it usually targets people that can't afford it. So I can't tell you the number of times that we talk to people on the phone who have, to get this money, they don't have any money, so they've borrowed money from friends. They've gotten payday loans. They've put a title loan on their car or something like that. So it can just be super devastating when people lose money to this. Next slide. All right, this is another one I'm sure that all you have gotten. Someone calling you saying they're from Publishers Clearinghouse, that you've won money. This is another one that doesn't necessarily just target seniors. Everybody falls for it. It plays on your emotions. It plays on you wanting to be rich. It is just so financially devastating. Typically, you'll get a phone call from someone that claims to be with Publishers Clearinghouse. There's always an immediacy to it. They'll tell you that you've won so many millions of dollars, and all you got to do is pay them up front for taxes and fees, money that, again, you'll get back at the end. But there's a catch. Because of the security concerns, you can't tell anybody. You can't tell your family members. You can't tell anybody. In fact, it's such a security concern that they have undercover agents outside your house that are going to watch you as you go to Walmart to get these gift cards that you have to pay for this. So it's very elaborate. But again, it's so devastating because it plays on people's emotions. We had a woman the other day that called our office. She was a victim of this scam. She lost over $6,000 in money she didn't have. And what's really sad about this particular situation was she was in dire straits. She was working. She was actually worked at McDonald's. She had 2 kids, having a hard time paying the bills, and had been praying and praying for an answer, and then got this phone call, and it told her that she had won millions of dollars. Not only did she quit her job in a way that she couldn't get it back, she didn't have the money to cover the fees. So she went and got a title loan, and she went and got a payday loan, very, very high interest loans, and borrowed more money from her parents. And obviously she lost all that money. And that's a story that we hear about all the time. So it's just super devastating. And again, this is target. I mean, this is every day. This is something that is just relentless in the Mid-South. And you may think that, well, how can someone fall for that? It's obviously fake, but they just do. When you get that call and you're that desperate and you've been praying for something, or, it's just devastating. Next one, please. All right. And this is one where it could be a scam or it could just be an unethical business, but I'm sure everybody has experienced something like this. Someone knocked on your door selling products or services, and it made you feel uncomfortable. Usually after a big storm, you get roofers or you get a tree trimmer that'll come up to your house and offer you an unbelievable deal. Usually you see it with tree trimmers. Usually it's a deal that they try to get you to pay cash right then and there, and it's usually thousands of dollars less than a reputable tree service. The catch is you have to pay me up front. You have to pay me right now. You pay that money and then you never see them again. That happens quite frequently. Now, there are real companies that do go door to door and do offer products and services, and maybe they're legit, maybe they're not, but that's where you have to do your research. Check, ask for references, contact the Better Business Bureau, call the Tennessee Division of Consumer Affairs and see if anybody's reported on them. Contact us. We can tell you whether or not they have the proper competency license, but do your research. Because again, many door-to-door salespeople are legitimate, but others are only out to make a quick dollar. Next slide. A lot of people, you'd be surprised, we hear from a lot of seniors who are just intimidated when somebody answers or when someone comes to their door. You absolutely do not have to answer the door if someone knocks on your door. You can choose to open your door or not. You may want to schedule a presentation at another time when someone else can be there with you. You just have to be really careful this day and time about allowing strangers into your home. And again, you just have to be really, really careful. If you do want to do business with someone, we recommend that you just take a few minutes and cool off. Don't say yes to anything when someone's pressuring you right then and there at your home. We hear from a lot of seniors who say that they feel intimidated and they don't want to be rude. Be rude. Someone's coming to your home, they're trying to rip you off, so don't worry about being rude. Be rude when it comes to your money.
Yeah.
So next slide. All right, and this is one that unfortunately is really coming back with a vengeance. It affects everybody, not just seniors, but it's targeted towards seniors, and we call this the grandparent scam. And this scam has been around for a while, but basically the scammer contacts a grandparent claiming to be their grandchild who's in a dire situation and needs money. The plea is so persuasive that the grandparent wires money to the scammer or gets gift cards to find out later that the family member was safe and sound all along. These emergency scams prey on your willingness to help your family and friend in need. Scammers impersonate their target's loved ones and make up urgent situation to always plea for money. One of the reasons why this scam is so popular and so easy to fall for is with social media these days. Scammers do their research. When they call you, they know who they're calling. They've gone on social media sites and they see where your grandkids are. They see where your family members are. They know details about your family's life that 10, 15 years ago, they couldn't tell. Right now, if someone knows who I am, they could go on my Facebook page and they could find out exactly what my wife's doing today or what my kid's been doing the last couple of weeks, because my wife's constantly posting our lives on social media. So that's one of the reasons why it's so prevalent. We had a woman the other day that lost $20,000 to this scam. And it went like this. She got a phone call from somebody who claimed to be her grandchild. She goes, "Andy, is that you?" "Yeah, Grandma, it's Andy. I'm overseas. I'm in trouble." Well, her grandson happened to be named Andy. Why do you sound different? "I was in a fight and my jaw got broke. I'm in jail. I need money, So they come up with everything. And again, these are professional thieves. They know what buttons to push and when and how to get information from you, right? So it's a numbers game. If they call 30 people and they say, "Hey, Grandma," some of those 30 people may be like, "My grandkids don't call me Grandma. I know this is a scam." But one of those 30 are gonna listen to the pitch. It's a numbers game. They wouldn't be doing this if they weren't making money. But again, this isn't something that they make $100 off of. This isn't something they make, $200 off of. They make thousands of dollars off of this. My grandma, before I started working for the Better Business Bureau about 10 years ago, fell for the scam, and she lost $18,000, everything she had. And it was a similar situation. My cousin was serving overseas. She got a phone call from someone who claimed to be my cousin. And obviously the first thing he told her was, "You can't tell my mom. Don't tell my mom. No one can know. Grandma, I promise I'll pay you back." And she ended up getting conned into wiring $18,000 to an account overseas, and obviously was never able to get that money back. So that's why the scam is so devastating. Next slide. Obviously, again, the same scam scenarios might include they've been arrested while traveling overseas. There was some type of accident, medical emergency, kidnapped. Again, they provide convincing details such as family names, schools, anything they can find online. It's always urgent and you always have to act immediately. They always need money right then and there. They need your help. They're always going to tell you not to tell anyone. They're going to try to isolate you. They want you to send money. These scams, are designed, to cause panic so you will comply with the scammer's wishes. Next slide. Yeah, it can be infuriating to hear. It's difficult sometimes. So, and again, remember, caller ID can be spoofed. One of the things that sometimes can make this scam so convincing, I talked to a woman the other day that fell for this scam, and it showed up on her phone as the United States Embassy of Israel. So remember, scammers, again, very sophisticated. A lot of it's tied to organized crime in places like Russia and India, but they have lots of money. It's a business. They invest their profits that they get from spending, from stealing from you into their business. And one of the things they do is invest in technology. So they are way advanced when it comes to technology. So the number one thing we tell people is if you didn't engage, if you didn't initiate contact, don't engage. You can't trust caller ID. You just can't trust it.
Daniel, I don't know if you can hear me on Zoom. Can you hear me on Zoom? I had somebody spoof my number just about 2 weeks ago, and they even had my picture they pulled off of Facebook.
Yep.
And they said, open this gift card to pay for your closing costs, because they know I do a lot of mortgage business, and they sent it out. I reported it to the FCC.
Yeah.
And they put a notice out, but they just sent it to thousands of people.
Right,
with this
all your
area code.
contacts probably.
No, they didn't have
They
my
didn't?
contacts.
That's
They
good.
just sent it to thousands of people with this area code, hoping.
Right.
And they hit one of my clients. She was about to open the credit card, thinking it was a way to pay for her closing costs, but remembered I told her, do not open any new credit. And they had told her in the message, do not call me, just follow the instructions. But she did not get scammed, but it was very close.
Yeah. And one of the things, you always see the red flags after, but one of the major red flags that because most of these scams originate overseas, the blessing in that is that a lot of them don't understand. They may speak English, but they don't speak conversational English. So one of the things that, especially in your spam emails and in the phony websites and all that kind of stuff, we would call it scammer grammar, but it's, periods in the wrong spot, or punctuation's not right, or, the phrase that they use is just not right, or, so it's not conversational. So a lot of times when you're reading these spam emails, or, you're on a website that doesn't look right, you'll start to notice the red flags, and we call that scammer grammar. And that's the reason for that is because, again, most of it's perpetrated overseas, and they don't speak proper English the way we do a lot of times. Next slide. So some of the tips that we have to obviously to not fall for the grandparent scam is resist the urge to act immediately, no matter how dramatic the story. Slow the situation down by asking for more time. Stall. That's a good tip for anything. Never act immediately when you get a strange phone call. Always try to slow down. You'll start to spot the red flags when you're like, I don't know, man. Let me think about it. And when they come back to you and they're like, you got to act now. I need your money now. That's a big red flag. Try to keep them talking as long as you can until you can get in touch with your loved ones. Scams like this fail as soon as the would-be target realizes their loved one is safe. Again, one of the number one things that the scammer will tell you in this situation is, you can't tell anybody. Sometimes you just have to do what you feel is best. Had my grandma taken the time to call her daughter, she would have known that it wasn't realistic. But she thought she was being a good grandma and would do anything for her grandkids. And these scammers play on that emotion, and it's just devastating.
So Daniel, at one time you're saying if you think it's just not legitimate or doesn't feel right, hang up.
Right.
Yet here you say keep them talking. What's the difference?
Well, so that's a very good question. If you think there's any legitimacy to it, right? A lot of times you're not sure. So if you're not sure in this particular situation, the longer you can get them talking, the more red flags you'll see, right? The more information you get, the more you question them, the more you'll see it's a scam. As soon as you know it's a scam, you should hang up. But in this scenario, the more you talk, the more the scam will kind of show itself. Yeah.
They'll get angry.
Yes, they will get it. They get very frustrated. They start cussing. They do all sorts of stuff.
Right
Yeah. And so these are these ones that I've gone over. These are the top scams in the MidSouth that people fall for and lose money. These scams combined right now, we've had about 700 scam tracker reports on these 5 scams I've just talked about, for a total dollar loss of over $400,000 just on these scams alone. So that kind of tells you, again, when people fall for these scams, they lose a lot of money. Scammers aren't only after your money as well. They're also after your personal information. Obviously, sometimes So some of these scams are thousands of dollars, but most scams are only a couple $100. They want to make that money if they can, but where they make the real money is your ID, your identity, right? They're trying to steal your identity. They want all that information so they can sell it not once, but 3 or 4 times. So your personal information, your identity is worth more to them than a couple $100. So again, these scams are twofold. Going back to the government grant scam, or going back to one of the Medicare scams. They're not just trying to get your money, they're trying to get your personal information. They will go as far as to have you fill out elaborate applications, just like you would for a grant, right? And what's on that application? Your social security number, your emergency contact info, all of your email accounts. They'll ask you personal questions just like your email account would on your forgot my password, right? So you're giving them information not only for your social security number and your banking info, but you're answering detailed questions so they can go in and hack your email address, get your contacts, send that email to all your contacts, right? So it's they're just trying to get as much information as they can.
Daniel, I've got a question for you, and this is mostly for internet.
Yes, sir.
When you get unsolicited emails,
yes, sir,
and you want to unsubscribe, is there a difference between you have been unsubscribed versus please provide your email so we can unsubscribe?
Yeah, and that's really tricky. So there are legitimate companies that obviously they have the unsubscribed thing at the bottom, but if you've not subscribed to any email, right, and you don't recognize the company, I would just delete it altogether. Now, a situation, you may shop at a store one day or something, and then they may, you can't buy a piece of gum without them asking you for your email address, right? And you give them your email address, and then all of a sudden you start to get emails that you don't recognize from a business. You can always call and verify if you need to, or you can give us a call and we can try to verify. But that would be a situation where it might be okay to click on unsubscribe. But certainly if you don't recognize it at all, or you have no idea why you're getting it and you haven't subscribed to anything, I would just delete the message altogether.
Okay.
Just blocking them. I mean, I usually block them.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you just don't want to click on any links.
Right.
I tell people all the time, just don't even try to click into the body of the message. I get thousands of emails a week and I probably only read a couple hundred of them. If I don't recognize who it's coming from, or if it doesn't tell me in the subject line who it is and what they want, and and it's, especially if it's a Gmail address or some kind of random, public line or public email address, I don't read it just for that reason.
I've had a lot of emails where they say you've just been charged $300 for your Norton upgrade.
Right. We call that a tech scam. That's an imposter. That's right. Yeah. That's a major one. That's and again, it's kind of another imposter scam. Norton is one of the most spoofed companies out there. So it's a good segue. So these are the top scams that people fall for. Now I'm going to go over 3 scams very, very quickly that we're seeing more and more of, and I just want to get the word out about. So if you'll go to the next one for me. If you'll go ahead and go to the next one for me again.
Tim.
One more. Yeah, one more if you don't mind. One more. All right. So imposter scams, government imposter scams, utility scams. You may have gotten a weird phone call saying they're going to cut your utilities off if you don't, pay. That's another popular one. Phony sweepstakes scams and tech scams. The tech scam you were just talking about are a constant, but we are seeing new versions of these scams impersonating all types of groups, organizations, and businesses. Next slide. Here's one that affects us because we're a FedEx town. Everybody's got some kind of FedEx connection. Recently, several local police departments issued a warning about scammers posing as FedEx to extort people for money to deliver their packages, but also asking for social security numbers.
Wow.
Right? So overall, this matters to us because obviously FedEx is a huge, huge part of our community. The Better Business Bureau has gotten over 600 scam tracker reports from all over the country about this scam. We actually issued a national press release. 59 of that number jumped since I made this PowerPoint, but 59 of those were reported were local. Obviously, FedEx will never request via unsolicited phone call or text, email, will never ask for personal information in return for packages. That's just, obviously, that's going to be a scam. But people do fall for it. A woman in California lost $10,000 to this FedEx scam, and an Illinois man lost $4,500. Luckily, no one in Memphis reported to us that they lost money, but several did give their social security numbers, so they're at risk for identity theft. So again, this is one that if you haven't gotten, you probably will, because it's making the rounds again, and it's got a local tie. It's FedEx. Luckily, again, most Memphians know that that's not the way FedEx operates, but people in other parts of the country don't. Next slide. This is one that you may or may not have seen on the news. It has been very prevalent. We've gotten lots and lots of reports about it. We continue to. Despite a warning from the state, we're still getting lots of reports about it. Basically, scammers are impersonating the Tennessee Department of Transportation in a fraudulent text message. The text states, Tennessee Department of Transportation, you are required to validate your driver's license. Follow the link below to validate. Obviously, TDOT doesn't even handle a driver's license. That's the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security. Ironically, this is a nationwide scam and trend. Other states' Department of Transportation are issuing similar warning about texts. The Mississippi Department of Transportation is another one that issued a nationwide warning. We were getting lots of reports of that too. Very quickly, and I know I got to wrap it up. The other scam that we're starting to see a lot of people that's affecting. If you'll go to the next slide. We refer to it as a rental car scam. Well, this is actually the Amazon scam. Obviously, this is where Amazon will call you on a recorded line, or maybe someone with a foreign accent, and they'll say there's a problem with your Amazon account. The messages will range from a fraudulent charge on your Prime card to a lost or damaged package. They're going to ask you to verify your credit card, your personal information, and account login details. Usually when people get this scam, they don't just get it once, they get harassed 15 to 20 times. I know I got to wrap it up, so I'm just going to briefly, the other one I was going to talk about is it's a rental car scam. Basically, where you type in Google rental car and a number pops up, and then you call that number and someone answers the phone and says rental car, and they you think that you're booking a rental car with one of the major companies, and you show up to get your car and they have no idea what you're talking about, but you've already paid the money. So with rental car shortages, this is something that people are just falling for left and right. So be on the lookout. The number one thing we tell people is don't trust Google. If you're trying to call Enterprise Rental Car, go to their actual website. Don't just trust any number that you get on Google. And it looks like my time is up. Guys, if you've got any questions or anything, please feel free to email me. You can call me, connect with me anytime, and I really appreciate it.
Can you hang out and be in a breakout room? Do you have time?
Yes, ma'am. I've got nothing but time for you.
Quick question. You know, I'm so excited about this, and I can't wait to get my Powerball money.
Oh no, $760 million.
I'm so excited. It's just
Taylor said.
Wait a minute, I won the Powerball.
And he won that.
Right.
Daniel, can I just make a quick?
Hopefully you can share that with the rest of us, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so
Joe?
much. Daniel
Good
is,
job, Daniel.
Daniel's going to be in
Joe?
a breakout room here. If anybody wants to be in that, just let Tim know. Lynn, did you have something?
Yes, just real quick. Daniel, I wanted you to share with the group too. When you get an insurance claim, never, ever sign the claim check over to the worker until the work is complete. There's been so many customers that have called and said, the roofer won't complete the roof and I've signed my check over.
That's great advice.
All right, good. Thank you. Anybody else from Zoom in the room? Do you have any announcements before we go into our closing and into our breakout rooms? All right, again, we're going to have Daniel Irwin from the Better Business